You're talking obviously about industry in effect and manufacturing industries. You did touch on education there, but if you think about the public service, the civil service and public service, we're always talking about how complex our organisations are. The subjects of efficiency and effectiveness are not new. We have endless numbers of initiatives and strategies for dealing with these things. So what's new here? Other than the retrospective, other than sort of bagging it all up?
Well, come on, Bob. Where's the initiative that you can point me to on reliability in management teams in the civil service over the last 20 years? Where's the example? Efficiencies, yes. I would agree with you there, and I think that's where the primary effort has been, and that's understandable. It's been on efficiency gain, and particularly efficiency gain through cost reduction. Now, I think what I'm saying here is that, first of all, let's focus on the management team rather than operations, strategy and applications engineering, which is where many initiatives have been, quite rightly, in the public sector. Let's look at the management structures, the management team, the leadership styles and the priorities that you find in there. So I think that's one distinct difference. But let's understand then that creating organisational reliability, high reliability in organisations, ensuring a prioritisation of delivering mission in the medium term is absolutely central to everything that we do, is not at 180 degrees in the opposite direction to gaining efficiencies.
No, sure.
It's a complementary activity to that.
So not incompatible.
And I don't see that having been done in the civil service. And I think if you're fair, you'd probably say the same.
No, I think it's a reasonable comment. Now, so for you then, if you were to try and sort of encapsulate the key lessons that the public service should draw from the research that you've seen, what would you say?
Well, I think the public services can learn a lot from the Toyotas of this world. I think the creation of information-rich environments I've already spoken about, coordinated activity across the piece and relating heedfully across the management team to the central mission of the organisation, the central purpose of the organisation, is a crucial part of it. Creating zero-tolerance management attitudes to stop cascading error, to, as they say in the literature, avoid, entrap or mitigate errors being allowed to cascade through the system. I guess they'd be some of the most important messages that I think can be taken and applied into the public services.
On the point about zero tolerance, is that in a sense slightly at odds with the idea that we're being encouraged increasingly through learning and development to take risks and to build a no-blame culture in our organisations?
I don't think so. I think the one thing, another principle I would think could be picked up is the principle of learning trial without error. Now, I think you can take risks. But if you want to be a high reliability organisation and not make mistakes, you don't do that in core operations. You actually do that offline. You use techniques like scenario planning, simulation, modelling, these kinds of techniques that enable you to learn about better ways of doing things. And you can take as many risks as you like there, offline. But when we're doing it for real, then the thing has to work with standard operating procedures, and it has to deliver, well, as the advert says, exactly what it says on the tin. Otherwise, we've got failure in the system. And we want to mitigate against that as much as possible, and so do the general public.
Increasingly, though, learning methodologies are encouraging people to actually use real-life projects that are live and actually work those through. So the idea of actually separating learning out into some sort of artificial capsule seems to be arguing against some of the leading-edge learning philosophies, wouldn't you think?
Well, I think that what I would argue is that you are operating those learning strategies real life, but not on the line with the general public. It's just as much part of your job. It's part of what you do 24/7, not 24/7, but certainly N7 365, and therefore absolutely vital and important, but should not be allowed to impact the actual interactions with the public and the service that you are there to provide. You're taking risks as soon as you do. The holes in the cheese will start to appear, and when the holes in the cheese line up, we know where that leads. Now, if you were, or I can say that just as a management theorist and an organisation development specialist, that is the risk that you will run in those situations if you do it that way.
Okay, interesting. Now, Gus O'Donnell's vision is for a civil service that exudes pride, passion, pace and professionalism.
Yes.
I was reading those just in case I missed one. But do you have any tips for Gus on how to drive this culture change through the civil service?
Is it essential that whatever I say starts with a P?
Yeah. It would help, actually, if it could be a line.
No, I mean, I'm a huge admirer of Gus and what he's trying to do with the civil service, and clearly they are very, very important ideas and concepts. It's interesting. I mean, in my role at the university at Tranfield the other day, I was looking at a piece of research on high-performing organisations, which went on in 1967, as far back as that, and the conclusions from that piece of work were that three things were important in any high-performing organisation: time, feeling, and focus. What the researchers found was that in high-performing organisations, people spend a heck of a lot of time working on the organisation and its problems. They are workaholics. That is true. Mm-hmm. They do care greatly about what the organisation delivers. So there is that passion element too. But they do delimit the area of their operations. I mean, the old adage from psychology, from David MacLennan's work, that high performers set moderate targets, springs to mind straight away. Focusing onto a limited range of fairly simple and straightforward targets is one way of improving performance. And passion, pace and professionalism are not quite lined up with those, but they're not far off actually in terms of delivering. I think what they don't do, those three words, is focus on what I think are three more key overall strategic imperatives.
Beginning with P?
No, not beginning with P this time, Bob, no. But I think what's important for any organisation is that it should be efficient, and efficiencies are really, really important, that it should be concerned with reliability, and I keep saying the delivery of its mission in the medium term, and nothing must get in the way of that. If you're in the health service, then you must deliver health care. If you're in education, you must deliver to your students. And there isn't anyone I know in the public services who doesn't feel passionately about that and wouldn't want to do that. But efficiency and reliability, and that takes us back to our earlier discussion about those two being not orthogonally related. And then there's the issue of managing the change agenda, and the change agenda being set and delivering performance improvement into whichever aspects of the civil service that happens to be, and then review that agenda and change it and keep the change moving forwards. Mm-hmm. So those three are three other important categories that I think really are complementary to Gus's ideas on passion, pace and professionalism. And then you ask the question, well, how do you get that implemented? And of course, that's the old change management problem. If we move around the deck chairs, if we rearrange the offices, if we structurally realign and do all the things that we're all used to that drive us crazy with overload in change management, then yes, you'll get some performance improvement. We can change our values. We can say, well, these are the things that we really think we should be prioritising and believing in, and we'll try to behave in accordance with them. But again, that can sometimes deteriorate to no more than a chart on a wall or an email sent round every now and again. The real way to implement is to change the way people behave, to change their taken for granted assumptions about this organisation and the way it operates. The sorts of things that, how could one say, what makes for a good leader in this organisation? What makes for a good follower? How do we make decisions? How is authority allocated? How do we make decisions? What about communication patterns? It's very rare that these sorts of things are up for grabs, except in periods of rapid change. And I think that's the way to really implement, to identify these things and to make significant and deep-rooted changes in the way we operate the whole organisation around here, for everyone, for the leaders of the organisation and also for every member of the organisation. And collectively, we stand a chance of actually moving it in the right direction.
David Tranfield, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.